The observation dome of Station Arcturus hummed with the quiet efficiency of a dozen species coexisting in careful harmony. Lyra sat cross-legged near the western viewport, her fingers working through the intricate knots of a Terran friendship bracelet, a habit from home that still brought her comfort among the stars. She didn't notice the Valkyrie approaching until the entire pack stood before her. The wolf-like aliens towered over most species, their silver-gray fur rippling with bioluminescent patterns that conveyed emotion more clearly than words ever could. Their pack leader, Thresh, carried something small and trembling against his chest. The patterns on his fur pulsed deep crimson, distress, pain, desperation. "Human Lyra," Thresh translator crackled. His voice carried the weight of a father watching his child slip away. "You must help." Lyra set down her bracelet and stood slowly. The Valkyrie had never approached her before. They were a proud species, military contractors renowned across 3 sectors for their tactical brilliance and unbreakable pack bonds. They didn't ask humans for help. They barely acknowledged human existence. Thresh extended his massive arms, and Lyra's breath caught that it was a cub. Kiko, she remembered, Thresh's youngest. The small Valkyrie couldn't have been more than 6 standard cycles old. Her fur, which should have sparkled with the vibrant blues and greens of youth, lay dull and matted. Her breathing came in shallow, rattling gasps. The bioluminescent patterns across her small body flickered weakly, like dying stars. "Our medics cannot help her," Thresh continued, and now the entire pack behind him displayed the same crimson distress. 12 adult Valkyrie, warriors who had faced down insurgencies and pirate raids without flinching, now stood helpless. "The station's medical bay has tried everything. They say her neural pathways are damaged beyond their capability to repair. They say," his voice broke, "they say to make her comfortable." Lyra stared at the dying cub, her mind racing. She wasn't a doctor. She was a xenoanthropologist, studying cultural integration patterns on frontier stations. She had no medical training beyond basic first aid. "I don't understand," she said gently. "Why come to me?" An older female stepped forward, Senna, the pack's chronicler. Her patterns shifted to deep gold, the color of ancient memory. "We have watched you, human. For 3 lunar cycles, we have watched." Lyra blinked in surprise. When Engineer Voss broke his manipulator, the medical bay said it incorrectly, Senna continued. "You sat with him for 16 hours, researching Centaurian bone structure, arguing with the physicians until they listened. You made them understand that their standard protocols did not account for his species' unique calcium matrix. That was just research," Lyra began. "When the Metherin hatchlings developed the respiratory infection, you did not sleep for 4 days," another pack member added, his patterns showing deep respect in violet hues. "You translated their distress calls, you learned their dietary needs, you advocated until the right treatment was found. When my mate was homesick and fading," a third Valkyrie said quietly, "you brought her cuttings from her homeworld's garden. You sat with her. You listened. She lives because you cared enough to understand." Thresh's patterns shifted to something Lyra had never seen before, a swirling mixture of hope and reverence, amber threaded with silver. "Humans do not have our strength. You do not have the Centaurians' technical mastery or the Metherin's hive mind efficiency. But you have something our medics lack." "What?" Lyra whispered. "You refuse to accept that someone should suffer when you might help them." Senna's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "You do not see species. You see individuals. You do not see protocols. You see beings who hurt. And you do not stop until you have done everything possible." Lyra looked down at little Kiko, who gazed up at her with eyes too aware, too knowing for someone so young. The cub was dying, and she knew it. But in those alien eyes, Lyra saw something achingly familiar. A child who wanted to live, who wanted to play and learn and grow, who wanted her father's embrace and her pack's warmth for many more cycles to come. "Let me hold her," Lyra said. Thresh transferred the cub into her arms with a gentleness that belied his warrior's build. Kiko weighed almost nothing, her small body trembling against Lyra's chest. The human could feel the erratic flutter of the cub's dual hearts. "Tell me everything," Lyra commanded, her voice taking on the firm tone of someone who would not be denied. "Every symptom, every test, every treatment attempted. And then take me to the medical bay." We're going to review every scan, every result, every assumption they've made. The pack's patterns exploded into cascading waves of brilliant white, pure, undiluted hope. For the next 18 hours, Lyra became a force of nature. She bullied physicians into re-examining their conclusions. She contacted xenobiologists across 3 systems, calling in favors she'd accumulated through years of collaborative research. She cross-referenced Valkyrie neural development against 17 similar species, looking for any precedent, any case study that might apply. She found it in a medical journal from a frontier colony, buried in the supplementary data of a paper on cross-species neurology, a case study involving a Lixian cub with similar symptoms. The solution hadn't been surgical or pharmaceutical. It had been environmental. Valkyrie neural development, Lyra discovered, was triggered by pack resonance, the synchronized bioluminescent patterns of family members during crucial growth phases. Kiko's damage hadn't been disease or injury. She'd been isolated in the medical bay, away from her pack, during a critical neural development window. Her pathways were shutting down from lack of the specific light-frequency stimulation only her family could provide. The treatment was simple, almost absurdly so. The pack surrounded Kiko, synchronizing their patterns in the ancient rhythms of Valkyrie healing ceremonies. And Lyra, who had spent those 18 hours learning the meaning of every color and pulse, coordinated them like a conductor guiding an orchestra point. 3 days later, Kiko's patterns bloomed in brilliant, healthy turquoise. She bounded around the observation dome, her laughter, a sound like wind chimes in a storm, filling the space with joy. The pack's patterns danced in celebration, and at the center of it all stood Lyra, tears streaming down her face, grinning like a fool. Thresh approached her, and for the first time, a Valkyrie bowed to a human. "You saved her life," he said simply. "No," Lyra replied, watching Kiko play. "I just refused to accept that there wasn't an answer. That's not special. That's just being human." The pack's patterns shifted to that same amber-silver reverence, and Lyra understood. To them, that was special. That stubborn, relentless refusal to give up on a life that could be saved. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. As Kiko crashed